Alrighty people, so as we all know, Roblox Forsaken's a fun and non-controversial asymmetrical horror game about killing and surviving. And if y'all can't tell by the title, we are going to be rating every survivor in the game, and then ranking them on a tier list. The way I'll be rating these guys will be based off a few things. As you can see, they're just some basic stuff like abilities, impact, pros and cons, and everything like that. So let's just hop right in. But first, let's go over the three main roles, which are the survivalists, the supports, and the sentinels. So pretty much the survivalist class specializes in evasion and self-preservation. These survivors will have abilities that will mainly help themselves rather than help out the team. These survivalists prefer a more passive, stealthy, and evasive approach. Next up, we have the support class, which obviously focuses on supporting. These survivors will have abilities that will help heal, shield, and buff their teammates. And these supports can also apply debuffs to the killer, such as inflicting slowness, or just exploding in their face. And then we have the Sentinel class. These survivors specialize on the offensive and defensive side of things. These guys mainly focus on stunning / interrupting the killer with their abilities, protecting their teammates in a defensive and / or offensive way, engaging and making some huge plays. And these Sentinel survivors are often more durable, or have some sort of self-sufficiency built into their kits. And now that we got those three main roles out the way, let's begin with the Noob. The OG starter survivor in a game, and my boy is a survivalist class survivor. For his stats, it's the most basic and standard stats in the game. For his passive, it looks like he doesn't have one, so let's move on to his abilities. Starting with his Bloxy-Cola. Upon activation, the Noob will drink his Bloxy-Cola. He'll gain speed 1 for 10 seconds, and his ability is on a 50-second cooldown. Bloxy-Cola is great for extending chases, or just getting away. Moving on, we have Slate Skin ability. The Noob gains Slate Skin 2 for 6 seconds, which pretty much turns him into a rock man, and it's only on a 55-second cooldown. His ability is amazing for stalling out some time, or securing the game. And finally, we have his Ghost Burger ability. The Noob gains Undetectable 1 and Invisibility 4 for 10 seconds, which is great to evade ton of threats. And his ability has a 45-second cooldown. So now let's go over the pros and cons. So of course Noob is really good at escaping and extending chases thanks to his abilities. His Ghost Burger's Undetectable buff can help a lot to avoid minions, and also avoid X-rating / highlighting abilities. Your abilities do have infinite uses, so that's a huge positive right there. And I'd say Noob is one of the best LMS survivors in the game, which makes sense, he is a survivalist. But of course with pros comes some cons. Because his abilities only benefits himself, it doesn't bring any sort of help or support for the team. The Noob does need some time to use his abilities, making him a little bit vulnerable until that time is done. And although your abilities do have infinite uses, the Noob does tend to have longer cooldowns than other survivors, and his Slate Skin effect can be countered by the killer if they time it right. And for the Noob's impact on a game, I'd say he has some pretty low impact. Again, his abilities only help out himself, there's no supportive aspect whatsoever, but of course he can try to help out the team by fixing the generators, or try to get chased by the killer, but it really depends if the killer even chases you in the first place. But at the end of the day, he is great at LMS, so you can definitely secure the win for the team. And for the overall rating, let me give this guy a B-. I think he's okay, he's kind of mid. But next up, we have the Elliot. He's second starter survivor in a game, and he is a support. When it comes to his stats, everything seems pretty normal besides his HP, because it's only at 80. For the passive, we have one called Order Up. Each generator you contribute to will increase your pizza healing power by plus 5%. And then we have Deliver's Resolve. If a fellow survivor takes damage, their highlight will be rehealed for 12 seconds. Now let's move on to his abilities. Starting with Pizza Throw. The Elliot throws out a pizza, and if this pizza is ever consumed by a survivor, he'll instantly heal them for 15 HP, followed up by another 20 HP over a span of 2.5 seconds, and his ability has a cooldown of 45 seconds. Next up, we have Rush Hour. Upon activation, Elliot gains speed 3 for 3 seconds. His ability has a max charge of 1, but it can't be replenished if an Elliot kills another survivor that is not another Elliot, and his ability has a 40-second cooldown. Now for the pros and cons. So of course Elliot is one of the best survivors in the entire game. His heals are very fast, easily accessible, and very reliable. Thanks to his passive, he's great at detecting fellow wounded survivors. He can also use his passive to kind of scout the enemy location as well. And the Elliot has some built-in scaling, thanks to his Order Up passive. Now for the cons, obviously Elliot can have the lowest HP in the game, making him very squishy, and pretty much 3-shottable. And because he's one of the best healers mixed with low HP, the Elliot will get targeted very often. You also need another wounded survivor besides Elliot to replenish your Rush Hour charge, and chances are you're going to have to rely on your teammate to protect you. So hopefully that Sorcerer Gaz, Heartbroken Shedletsky, and the MLG Chance on your team can protect you. And yes, when it comes to Elliot's impact on the game, obviously this guy has high impact. He's one of, if not the best healer in the entire game. That single pizza ability greatly helps out the team, and because of that he's able to keep his teammates alive for longer, especially his Sentinel teammates, the ones that are actually protecting him. And yeah, for my overall rating, I'm gonna give this guy an easy S tier. I love this guy so much. Moving on, we have the Shedletsky, the third starter survivor in a game, and my boy is a Sentinel class survivor. When it comes to his stats, everything seems pretty standard, 100 HP and everything normal across the board. For his passive, he doesn't have one, so let's talk about his abilities. Starting out with Slash. Upon activation, Shedletsky will swing his sword. If the sword makes contact with the killer, it'll stun him for 3 seconds. Shedletsky also gains resistance 2 for 0.5 seconds during this time, and his ability is great for interrupting the killer in their tracks, and his ability has a cooldown of 40 seconds. Next up, we have his fried chicken. Shedletsky will eat his chicken and instantly heal himself for 5 HP, followed up by another 35 HP over the span of 10 seconds, which is super awesome because you don't have to fully rely on a healer to help you. This ability has a 70-second cooldown and can be only used twice per game. Now for the pros and cons. Shedletsky has a great stunning ability that lasts for 3 seconds, and he also has the most consistent stunning ability in the entire game. For example, he doesn't need to block to gain his stun, or backstab somebody, or gamble. Shedletsky also has an amazing self-healing ability thanks to his chicken, and he is great at ambushing the killer and cancelling their abilities. However, missing your abilities can be very punishing. The same thing can be said about your chicken. Make sure you're healing in a very safe space. And speaking about your chicken, you only have 2 uses with a very long cooldown. And depending on the player, Shedletsky can be predictable sometimes. And yeah, when it comes to the impact, I think Shedletsky does have some medium to high impact. He has an ability that helps with the team. He doesn't need to rely on a healer too much thanks to his chicken ability. He's also very good at pressuring the killer, pretending to stun and trying to bait out his stuns and everything like that. And overall, he's a well-rounded Sentinel. For his overall rating, let me give this guy an A+. I think this guy's very good. And okay people, next up, we have the Builderman. Coming in at just $500, get a support survivor. When it comes to his stats, everything seems pretty normal besides his health. It's at 90 HP. And when it comes to his passive, he doesn't have one, so let's talk about his abilities. Starting with Sentry Construction. Builderman constructs a sentry that'll take 6 seconds to complete. If the killer's near the sentry, they'll be constantly inflicted with slowness 2 for 1 second. The sentry has a range of 32.5 studs, and depending on the positioning, it could be a huge annoyance for the killer. And his ability has a 45-second cooldown. Next up, we have Dispenser Construction. Builderman constructs a dispenser that'll take 6 seconds to complete. If any one of your teammates are near the dispenser, they'll get healed for 1 HP per second. This dispenser isn't too bad, but it's better than nothing. And his ability has a cooldown of 45 seconds. Now let's move on to the pros and cons. Of course, the Builderman has a great slowing ability that covers a small area that your teammates can reliably run to. This sentry can help set up abilities for other survivors. Depending on the map, these sentries can be placed at common choke points, loop areas, and high elevation places. He also has a very handy dispenser for teammates. And yeah, when it comes to the cons, he has slightly lower HP than other survivors. Using your abilities will also take some time, therefore you will be extremely vulnerable while doing so. With every other sentry placed down in a game, your sentry range will get reduced by 16%. And yeah, so when it comes to the impact, I'd say he does have some high impact. Both of his abilities help out the team greatly. He's also very great at slowing down a killer, especially against stun-proof killers, and your teammates can play around your sentry, whether they need to run away or maybe land a stun. And yeah, for my overall rating, let me give Builderman an A+. And alrighty people, moving on, we have the 007 and 7. Coming in just $500, you get a survivalist. When it comes to his stats, everything seems pretty normal. For his passive, we have Dex. 007 and 7 will always be able to see the first survivor spawn. And when it comes to his abilities, the first one's called Clone. Upon activation, 007 and 7 creates a clone of himself that lasts for 10 seconds, and the real 007 and 7 gains invisibility 4 for 4 seconds, and undetectable 1 for 4 seconds. This clone is pretty good for distracting a killer. This ability has a 27-second cooldown. And moving on, you have Cool GUI. 007 and 7 stands in place for 5.5 seconds before teleporting to the furthest survivor spawn, which of course can be seen thanks to your Dex passive. If you get hit by the killer or attempt to fix a generator, this ability will get cancelled, and its Cool GUI ability is super insane at traveling long distances with the press of a single button, and it's on a 50-second cooldown. Then we have his Inject ability. 007 and 7 can change the movement/behavior of his clone, and there are 3 different modes. We have Aimless, the clone just wanders around randomly. We have Pathfind, the clone pathfinds to the furthest survivor spawn. And then we have Cursor, the clone moves towards the player's cursor. Now for the pros and cons, 007 and 7 can be a great distraction for the killer, but it really depends if the killer falls for your tricks in the first place. He can travel across the entire map thanks to his cool GUI, giving him some pretty useful abilities, and thanks to his clone ability, 007 and 7 can go undetectable to evade minions or X-ray ability for a short while. And just like the Noob, 007 and 7 typically shines during LMS. However, you obviously need to get to LMS in the first place to even cook, As mentioned from earlier, using your cool GUI can be dangerous and leaves you vulnerable. And just like the noob, he unfortunately brings no supportive abilities to the team, no stuns, heals, or any sort of slows. And I'm not gonna lie, usually his clones are pretty predictable, therefore if a killer knows what you're doing, then it's kind of useless. And yeah, when it comes to his impact, I'd say it's pretty low. Just like the noob, he doesn't really bring much to the team. He is a survivalist at the end of the day, so I guess he can fix generators, try to win LMS. And yeah, when it comes to his overall rating, I'll give him a B- just like the noob. And alrighty people, that's gonna bring us on to the 2-time. Coming at just $500, you get a Sentinel class survivor. When it comes to their stats, everything seems pretty normal besides the HP, because it's at 80 HP. And let's just hop right into the passive Oblation. This is basically 2-time's way of earning their second life. If the 2-time lands a front step onto the killer, they'll gain 37% Oblation, and if the 2-time lands a backstab onto the killer, they'll gain 56% Oblation. And once the 2-time earns their second life, they're gonna respawn with just half their HP, and also all of these things happen. I'm not trying to read all that, but if you still have your first life and LMS starts, you're gonna have 110 HP. Now let's move on to abilities, starting out with Sacrificial Dagger. 2-time stabs their dagger forwards and gains resistance 1 for 0.7 seconds. If it's a front stab, it'll deal 10 damage and heal for 10 HP. But if it's a backstab, it'll deal 20 damage, heal for 20 HP, and stun the killer for 3.5 seconds. This ability has a 30-second cooldown. Of course, the Sacrificial Dagger requires some timing and skill to perform, which is very rewarding when landed. And using this ability while crouch will make you lunge forwards. And speaking about crouch, that brings us on to crouch. Upon activation, 2-time crouches down and silences their footsteps. They'll also gain Undetectable 1 and Invisibility 3 for up to 10 seconds. This ability has a 45-second cooldown, and that brings us on to Ritual. 2-time places down their respawn location. Dying with full Oblation or getting to LMS with your first life will teleport you to your Ritual spawn, and his ability can be only used once per game. Now for the pros and cons. Of course, a 2-time has a second life, you need to earn it first. 2-time has one of the best and long-lasting stuns in the entire game. 2-time is also pretty self-sufficient thanks to their life-stealing dagger. The crouch ability allows them to evade minions, and also X-ray and highlighting ability thanks to the undetectable buff. When it comes to the cons, if you have your first life and earn your second life, but then you die, you only spawn in with 40 HP. Even though 2-time does have an amazing stun, you have to land a backstab to do so. And just like any Sentinel, the 2-time can get punished pretty hard if they miss their stun. Not to mention that 2-time only has 80 HP, so they're pretty squishy. And yeah, when it comes to the impact, I'd say the 2-time does have some pretty high impact. Their abilities mostly help out themselves, but at the same time they can definitely help out the team, especially with their stunning ability. They're very good at ambushing the killer, and your second life is very useful. For my overall rating, I'll give this guy an S-. I think this guy is very good. Next up, we have Guest 137. Coming in just $500, get a Sentinel. For his stats, it looks pretty normal. Besides his HP, it's at 115 HP. For his passive, we have Made to Last. He has plus 15 additional HP, and he also has another hidden passive that allows him to have higher hit priority over other survivors in buildings. Now let's talk about his abilities. Starting off, we have Block. The guest will brace or impact and apply resistance 5 to himself, which pretty much makes him immune to melee abilities. If he successfully lands a block, he'll gain a single charge to his punch ability. Of course, there's lots of skill and luck involved when blocking, but it's very rewarding when landed. And Block has a 24-second cooldown. Next up, we have Charge. The guest will dash forwards for up to 1.5 seconds. If the guest makes contact with a killer, it'll knock them back and unlock their abilities for 1.25 seconds. His ability is very useful when a teammate's getting chased, or when he has to knock the killer off a ledge. And his charge ability has a 40-second cooldown. Next up, we have Punch. Guest will punch forwards, and if it hits a killer, it'll stun for 2 seconds. However, if Guest uses Punch right after successfully landing his block ability, this punch will turn into a parry, and this pretty much makes it come out faster, and stun the killer for 3.5 seconds. Now let's move on to the pros and cons. So obviously Guest has some additional HP in the game, making him more durable. Whenever you block, you do have a bigger hitbox, so that's pretty cool. And also you do have some higher hit priority, and of course Guest has some defensive and offensive capabilities, which makes him such a perfect Sentinel. And when it comes to the cons, he's very punishable if his block doesn't land. Same thing can be said about his charge and also his punch. You will need to earn your punch to stun in the first place, so you will have to land a block first. Unfortunately, you cannot block any projectile abilities, so you're kind of bad against ranged attacks. And depending on the player, Guest can be predictable, therefore he's a little bit less consistent than other survivors. And when it comes to his impact, I'd say he does have medium to high impact. All of his abilities can help out himself, but also the team as well. He can tank for the team thanks to his passive, making him a great frontliner. And of course, he just has defensive and offensive capabilities. He can pretty much do it all. And for the guess overall rating, let me get this guy an A-. Next up, we have Taph. For just $600, you get a support survivor, and for their stats, they look very normal to me. And it looks like they don't have a passive, so let's talk about the abilities. Starting out with Tripwire, Taph will be able to place down a tripwire. If the killer makes contact with it, it will apply slowness 2 for 4 seconds, and reveal their highlight for 8 seconds. And I feel like the highlighting part is definitely what makes a tripwire very useful. His ability has a 25-second cooldown. For the next ability, we have Suspect Trip Mine. Taph throws out a trip mine that lasts 3 seconds to arm. If this killer gets very close to the trip mine, then it's gonna explode, and inflict Suspect 3 and Helpless 1 for 5 seconds. This ability has a 40-second cooldown. And fun fact, this ability's cooldown will get reduced by 10 seconds if it successfully explodes onto the killer. And yeah, let's talk about the pros and cons. So, Taph has a pretty useful slow and highlighting ability, which is very good to notify survivors where the killer is. The Suspect Trip Mine ability is pretty effective as well. And because Taph is more of a preparation type of support, they're very good at pre-setting up traps for your teams to run to. And also Taph has the most amount of HP out of all the supports in the game, so that's a huge plus right there. But of course we do have some cons. Unfortunately, tripwires have a lifespan of 150 seconds, and trip mines have a lifespan of just 50 seconds, so they cannot last forever. All these traps can be easily destroyed by the killer if they know where they're at, and this thing rarely happens, but Taph can get impacted by their own Suspect Trip Mine. And yes, when it comes to impact, I'd say Taph does have medium impact. They can definitely help out the team in terms of slowing down a killer, and also highlighting them, which is super nice. And yes, when it comes to the overall rating, I'm gonna give Taph a B+. And moving on, we have the Dusekkar. Coming in just $600, you get a support survivor. For the stats, everything seems pretty normal besides the HP. It's at 90 HP. And let's talk about the passive levitation. Pretty much the Dusekkar levitates and makes no footstep noises. And for the abilities, we have spawn protection. Dusekkar is able to cast a shield onto survivor for up to 3.5 seconds. The shield will apply a resistance 4 buff. Just keep in mind this thing will reduce your movement speed by 25% as you're using it, but literally can block so much single target damage thanks to this one ability. And his ability has a 30-second cooldown. Next up, we have Plasma Beam. Dusekkar shoots out a zappy thingy, and his ability can be used on a killer and slash short a survivor. If the Plasma Beam hits a killer, they'll be inflicted with slowness 2 for 3 seconds. And if the Plasma Beam hits a survivor, they'll gain speed 1 for 4 seconds and an overheal of 20 HP. And his ability has a 30-second cooldown. For the pros and cons, this guy can obviously shield a survivor with a high resistance buff. If you ever plasma beam your teammates, overhealing and speeding up is one of the best things ever. And of course, slowing down a killer is also very useful for the entire team. Thankfully, both his abilities are ranged, so the Dusekkar can protect from a distance or from higher elevation. Also, your plasma beam can go through walls, but not through killer walls, so just be careful. And for the cons, unfortunately you do have a low shielding time. It's only 3.5 seconds. You will have to aim your plasma beam ability, so depending on the player, you could miss your skill shots. And your spawn protection does have a limited range of 95 studs. Your plasma beam has a range of 75 studs, so you can't get too far. And just like the Elliot, you have lower HP than usual, and you'll also be a high priority target. For Dusekkar's impact, I feel like this guy does have medium to high HP. Both abilities greatly help out the team. Of course, you just need to aim them and try to keep your distance, try to, not get close and everything like that. But at the same time, you want to stay active. And although you're not an actual healer, you can still provide very good buffs and debuffs to the team. And for the overall rating, let me give this guy an A+. I think this guy's very solid. I really like the Dusekkar. And yes, people, next up, we have the Chance. For just $777, you get a Sentinel class survivor. For stats, everything seems pretty normal besides HP, because it's going to be set to 70 to 90 HP. And that's all thanks to your passive, Unpredictable Fate. For his abilities, we have Coin Flip. Upon activation, Chance flips his coin. If this coin lands on heads, he'll gain 1 charge for all his abilities with a max stack of 3 charges, but if it lands on tails, he'll gain a charge of weakness 1 that's gonna last for 15 seconds. Next up, we have One Shot. Chance will pull out his flintlock and take aim. After a short windup, 3 things can happen. Outcome number 1, your gun successfully fires, deals 50 damage and stuns a killer for up to 4 seconds, depending on the range. For outcome number 2, nothing will happen. And outcome number 3, your gun will explode, inflicting 25 damage to yourself, and his one-shot ability has a 45-second cooldown. And then we have Reroll. Chance will be able to reroll his maximum HP stats. Basically, a round number between 60 and 120 will be chosen, and his ability has a 20-second cooldown. And then we have Hat Fix. Upon activation, Chance will fix his hats, and all current weaknesses stacks will be removed. If you have a broken gun because your gun exploded on you, it will be fixed. And just know you will need 3 charges to use his abilities, and your Hatfix has a 60-second cooldown. Now for the pros and cons, obviously Chance has the longest range stun ability in the entire game, which makes him very good at stunning, cancelling, and punishing the killer from a far range. Your stun can last up to 4 seconds, which is the longest stun in the entire game. And of course you do have a chance to gain the most HP in the entire game. But because of that, you are very luck dependent, therefore you can get very unlucky and have super low health. If your gun ever explodes, you're going to need to Hatfix it, and obviously you're going to take some damage. Your starting HP may be very inconvenient to you, thanks to your unpredictable fate passive, and for every additional chance that's existing in the game, the stun duration will be reduced by 15%. And yes, when it comes to the impact, I'd say this guy does have medium to high impact, or maybe even high impact depending on how lucky you are. Of course, most of his abilities do benefit himself, but that one single one-shot ability benefits the team. He has the only range stunning ability in the game, therefore he can stun from afar and at a safe distance. And also he can kind of play like a sniper, just be very evasive and very stealthy. And for my overall rating, let me give this guy an A+. I love gambling. And yes, people, that's going to bring us on to our last survivor. Here's a new one called Veeronica. For just $750, you will get a survivalist survivor. For the stats, they look pretty normal, 100 HP and everything like that. For the passive, we have Metal Frame. The Lizard of Veeronica cannot consume any healing items, no pizza, no dispenser, not even a medkit, but she can be healed through her own battery system. For the abilities, we have Vandalism. Veeronica can spray graffiti onto the wall, which takes 5 seconds to complete, and after doing so, you'll be able to use your skate ability within this small area, and only 3 can be placed out at a time, and you can also erase these things as well. For the next ability, we have Skate. You can use Skate inside the graffiti. Basically, this allows you to ride your skateboard and dash away. You have so much mobility. And yes, during this time, Veeronica can perform some tricks if they're near like some sort of like structure, wall thingy, as y'all can see. And if done correctly, you'll gain some stamina, and if she does 3 in a row, you'll gain some battery. For the next ability, we have Broadcast, and Broadcast allows you to switch to 3 modes. For the first mode, we have Phase. Colliding with a killer will allow you to phase through them, and charge a battery for 15%. We have Bumper. Colliding with the killer will knock the killer back and charge a battery for 15%. And then we have Mobile. This thing will increase your turn control for your skateboard, which is very useful for getting away. Me personally, I low-key feel like you don't need the Mobile mode. Literally Phase and Bumper is all you need, but that's just my opinion. And then for the next ability, we have Active Battery. Upon activation, Veeronica will use her battery to heal herself. And honestly, this self-healing ability is super nice to have, especially since you can pretty much self-heal for an infinite amount of times. And yeah, let's just move on to the pros and cons. Veeronica is great at getting away from chases. Matter of fact, she might be the best in the game at doing so. The skate ability can be used to evade and also bump away the killer from the team. So even though you are a survivalist, you can definitely still help out the team. You also have an amazing self-healing ability with your active battery. And once you place down all 3 of your graffitis around the map, you pretty much become unstoppable. But of course, with some pros comes some cons. Obviously, the graffiti can be easily wiped out by the killers, especially if they have a ranged ability. And because your graffiti is pretty much your bread and butter, not having any of them will make you very vulnerable and very targetable. Matter of fact, one of the cons here is that you're very targetable. No one wants to leave you for LMS, but you're probably going to be more targeted than Elliot. And unfortunately, you cannot consume any sort of healing sources, no pizza dispenser or medkits. And yeah, when it comes to Veeronica's impact, I'd say she does have medium or like low to medium impact. Of course, because she's a survivalist, her abilities help out herself, but she does have that one bumper ability she can use to kind of knock back the killer, which is very useful at some points in the game. Of course, fixing generators is something survivalists do, but Veeronica is very special. It not only helps the team by reducing time, but also gives her some more battery as well, which is very useful. And just like every other survivalist, this guy is very good at LMS. And yeah, for the overall rating, let me give Veeronica an S tier. And yes, people, that was my Forsaken tier list. Let me know your thoughts down below on the video, or like my rating, my ranking of this thing. And yeah, leave your thoughts down below in the comments. You know, have your own list or whatever, your own reasoning. And yeah, I'm done here, boys. I'll see you later. And before we end, I just want to give a huge shout out. Huge thanks to all my YouTube channel members. I love you people so much. Y'all are genuinely the most generous people I know out there. I really appreciate the support. If I gave y'all a hug, I'll give you a hug in real life right now. If you give me permission, of course. But okay, fine. The rules is y'all give me a funny cam. I ain't gonna lie. So if you enjoyed, please like. If you guys didn't, please dislike. And yeah, this is the video.